Marcus Chen had always been comfortable with numbers. Equations made sense. Physics followed rules. Unlike people, unlike politics, unlike the chaos that seemed to define human existence, engineering problems had solutions. That certainty had carried him through 15 years at the Titan Mining Consortium, where he'd spent his days optimizing extraction algorithms and his nights tinkering with propulsion theories in his cramped HAB module. He never imagined that his obsession with efficiency would save humanity. The Kethvar arrived on a Tuesday. Their ships materialized in Earth's orbit without warning, massive geometric constructs that defied conventional understanding of physics. They didn't announce themselves with grand proclamations or demands for surrender. Instead, they simply began dismantling the International Space Station, piece by methodical piece, studying each component with the clinical detachment of children, taking apart an insect. When Earth's governments finally established contact, the Kethvar's message was devastatingly simple. Humanity had 48 hours to prove their worth as a species or face systematic eradication. Not conquest, not subjugation, complete removal from the galactic equation. We have observed 17,432 sapient species across this galaxy, the Kethvar ambassador had stated, its crystalline form refracting the light in ways that hurt to look at directly. Only those who demonstrate significant potential for contribution to galactic advancement are permitted to continue existing. You have 2 of your planetary rotations to present your case. The world's greatest minds scrambled. Physicists presented theories on quantum mechanics. Philosophers offered treatises on consciousness and morality. Artists displayed humanity's greatest creative achievements. Military leaders demonstrated tactical innovations. Each presentation was met with the same response: insufficient. Marcus watched the proceedings from his mining platform orbiting Saturn, feeling increasingly disconnected from the drama unfolding across the solar system. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't a leader. He was just an engineer who happened to notice patterns that others missed. Which was why, 37 hours into humanity's deadline, he noticed something peculiar about the Kethvar ships. Their positioning wasn't random. The vessels formed, a complex 3-dimensional matrix around Earth's gravitational field. But there were gaps, specific points where no ships lingered. At first, Marcus assumed these were simply blind spots in their formation. But as he ran the calculations, cross-referencing the positions with gravitational field data, stellar mechanics, and quantum field fluctuations, a different picture emerged. The Kethvar weren't just observing humanity, they were harvesting something. Working through the night, Marcus traced energy signatures that the alien ships were siphoning from Earth's magnetosphere. Not magnetic energy itself, but something far more subtle, quantum resonance patterns generated by human neural activity on a planetary scale. The collective unconscious made manifest as harvestable energy. It was ingenious, really. The Kethvar had likely discovered that sapient species, when faced with existential threats, generated unique quantum signatures through synchronized thought patterns. Fear, hope, desperation, all of it created a form of energy that could be collected and utilized. They weren't evaluating civilizations for their potential. They were farming them for their psychic output during their final moments. Marcus stared at his calculations, his engineer's mind automatically running through the implications. The Kethvar had done this before, thousands of times. They would continue doing it, moving from system to system, presenting their ultimatum and harvesting the resulting terror, unless someone disrupted the collection matrix. With 11 hours remaining until humanity's deadline, Marcus began modifying the mining platform's industrial-grade fusion engines. He had access to the most powerful non-military propulsion system in the solar system, designed to push massive ore containers across interplanetary distances. If he could reconfigure the fusion output and coordinate it with the platform's gravity manipulation fields, the engineering was brutal. 15 straight hours of calculations, rerouting power systems, and recalibrating gravitational generators that were never meant to operate at the intensities he was pushing them toward. His hands moved with the steady precision of someone who had spent years solving problems that existed only in three-dimensional space and mathematical equations. As the deadline approached, Marcus transmitted his findings to every scientific institution on Earth, along with detailed instructions for replicating his modifications on any available spacecraft. Most dismissed his theories as the desperate ravings of an exhausted engineer, but Dr. Sarah Kim at the Lunar Research Station understood immediately. Within 6 hours, 17 stations across the solar system had jury-rigged Marcus's modifications to their propulsion systems. Marcus coordinated their efforts from his platform, calculating precise timing sequences and power outputs needed to disrupt the Kethvar's collection matrix. The plan was elegantly simple: create massive gravitational distortions at specific points around Earth, disrupting the quantum resonance patterns the aliens were harvesting. It wouldn't destroy their ships, but it would collapse their energy collection grid and potentially damage their ability to harvest other civilizations. At exactly 47 hours and 58 minutes into humanity's ultimatum, Marcus initiated the sequence. Across the solar system, modified fusion engines ignited in perfect synchronization. Gravitational waves rippled through space, creating interference patterns that shattered the delicate quantum matrix surrounding Earth. The Kethvar ships, caught unprepared for coordinated resistance, found their energy collection systems overloading and failing. For the first time in the encounter, the Kethvar ambassador's crystalline form showed something that might have been surprise. "Impossible," it stated. "No species has identified our harvesting protocols. How did you—" "We're engineers," Marcus replied, his voice transmitted across the emergency communication network. "We solve problems. It's what we do." The Kethvar ships departed 3 hours later, their formation broken and their energy collection systems damaged beyond immediate repair. They left behind a simple message: species designation, human. Classification updated to potential threat. Monitoring protocols activated. Marcus Chen returned to his equations and his mining algorithms. But the universe had changed around him. Humanity had bought itself time, not through grand speeches or demonstrations of artistic achievement, but through the simple application of engineering principles and the recognition that every system, no matter how advanced, had vulnerabilities waiting to be discovered. Sometimes the most important revolutions began not in boardrooms or battlefields, but in the mind of someone who simply refused to accept that a problem couldn't be solved. In the months that followed, as humanity prepared for the inevitable return of the Kethvar, Marcus continued his work. But now his calculations carried a different weight. He wasn't just optimizing mining operations or improving propulsion efficiency. He was designing humanity's future, one equation at a time.